The Bible says that there was a man called Zechariah, and Zechariah was a priest. And Zechariah was always doing his thing in the temple and carrying out his priestly duty. But the Bible also tells us, Luke speaking, that his wife Elizabeth was barren. The wife didn't have a child, and one day the angel of the Lord appeared. You see, if I were God, I would have just made Elizabeth pregnant. Elizabeth would just woke up and pregnant. But you see, the first thing that God did, and this is to establish to you that God will always give you a word. Are you following me? And so the angel appeared and said to Zechariah, your wife Elizabeth is going to have a son. And Zechariah said that how can this be? For number one, I am old. Number two, my wife is stricken in age. In other words, biologically speaking, my wife cannot carry a child. Science, when we want to go into science, my wife does not have the capacity or the ability to carry a child because she's crossed her menopause. And naturally speaking, there is no way my wife is going to have a child. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look at your neighbor in the eyes and tell your neighbor, say, be careful. No, say it like you mean it. Say, be careful what you call impossible. And when you read down Luke chapter 1, verse 26 and 35, we told another story of a young lady called Mary. And the angel of the Lord, the Bible says, appeared to her and said, you are going to have a son. And his name shall be called Jesus, for he shall save his people from their sin. And Mary said the same thing. How can this be? Number one, because science tells us that the only way I can have a child as a woman is that I must have a relationship, an intimate relationship with a man. That's science, that's nature, that's biology. So, but how can this be? And God sent me to tell you, you need to be careful what you call impossible. I'm not sure what God has promised you this year. I'm not sure what the Lord has spoken to you concerning your family, concerning your marriage, concerning your house, concerning your business, concerning your career. God sent me this morning all the way from Johannesburg to tell you, be careful what you call impossible. And this is important because one writer said, and I quote, he said, promises are fundamental to relationships because we establish trust and confidence in each other when we do what we say, unquote. He went further to say that while promises are easy to make, they are not always easy to keep. You see, you will agree with me that we see a lot of politicians, and this is from all over the world, how they make promises, and 90% of the time they don't keep the promises they make. And this is because it is one thing to make a promise, but it's a whole lot to be able to keep the promises that you've made. Somebody actually one time suggested that one of the major reasons of divorce and separation is when one or both parties don't keep the promises they made to each other. And this is because a promise is a commitment. Please, I want you to take note. A promise is a commitment. And somebody's asking me this morning, Pastor Martins, what is a commitment? Write this down if you're taking notes. Commitment is staying true to what you said, even when the mood in which you said it has weared off. Can I say that again? Commitment is staying true to what you said, even when the mood in which you said it has weared off. Now look at me. Everybody just look into my eyeballs. Now, I don't know how many of you wedded in church. You remember how we do these things in church. And when they're wedding you, they said, do you take this man? Do you take this woman in sickness and in health? What is the other one again? For better, for worse. We reach out for poor. Now, let me say to every young lady here, when you know these days, when I see them, some young ladies will say, for richer, for richer. anytime a young man or a young lady tells you for richer, run away. Why? Because he's not making a commitment. You see, life is full of uncertainties. And so when we make those commitments, and you see, anybody can make those commitments before you. Anybody can say those things. But we are saying that commitment is staying true to what you said on that day, even when the mood in which have you ever seen people wedding and the young man is standing and the young lady is coming and the young man is crying? Rev, I'm asking myself, what is he crying about? They've been